Lessons learned from failed businesses. Now, if you are an entrepreneur yourself, perhaps you've started a business, maybe you're contemplating starting a business, or maybe you're just interested in the topic of starting your own business. Ricky and I have both failed in business at least once, and today we're going to talk about the biggest lessons that taught us, because everything is a teachable moment. So here today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly side of businesses and failure, and talk about what we've learned from it so that hopefully other people can do the same, or at least take some nuggets of wisdom from this so you don't repeat the same mistakes as we did. Because oftentimes when we get into business, we wear our rose-tinted glasses, we expect everything to go perfectly, we expect all the people to buy all the things, because why wouldn't they, right? But in reality, that's not always the case. So Ricky, I'd love to know, what got you into entrepreneurship to begin with?
I like how you mentioned, so they can follow what we do. I was like, to not fail, right? They're going to follow what we do to not
Maybe
fail.
they would have failed. And if so, we can give you the roadmap, people. We're going to give you the roadmap of steps to take to fail.
Show you, play by play on how to fail. I've got it written down.
Perfect. Or you could learn from it and not repeat the same mistakes.
Yeah. Where's the fun in that?
I think not losing money or failing is like a good thing, but we learn. We live and we learn. Oh my goodness!
You got that in the early stages. Normally you have that at the end. Cool. Yeah. So, what was the question? It was what got me into.
What got you into it?
Yeah. So.
Why?
Probably the dream of trying to be your own boss, right? Just to say something's yours. Like, yep. I grew that, I developed it, I created it. It is probably the end goal of what you want to do. So for me, I've got El Gusano, and I went in with 6 people, which is another lesson learned to itself. We'll talk about it a bit later, which was a tequila RTD, right? The concept of owning your own alcoholic drink product was stargazing. I don't know, that's weird. Dazzling.
Well, you heard it here first, people.
Stargazing.
Stargazing is the new. That is amazing.
But it was exciting. It was, in theory, people Kiwis drink excessively every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Sometimes more often than that.
Correct. So to have a product on the market that you could call yourself was exciting, the thought of it, right?
Let's not get into the moral side of things here, but yes.
And the second thing was Kee-Sue Creative, which is my saving grace because that hasn't failed. So I'll touch on the other one, but I just wanted to make sure I had it there that I haven't failed at both of them.
And just for anyone who doesn't know what Kee-Sue Creative is, we have our own photography and videography business, which ticks along, doesn't it? It does pretty well.
Plug book us online now. So that was me. That's what got me into it. The excitement of either becoming your own boss, and just being able to make claim to a product that you own, and the idea of like having people out there seeing people with your product and being like, yeah, that's mine.
I created that, right? Yeah. It's the coolest feeling.
What about you? What got you into being your own boss, being an entrepreneur?
Well, I'm currently not 100% my own boss. I am employed. But when I first started my first business, I think I was 18, maybe 18 years old, perhaps, maybe a little. No, I think probably 18, if not a little bit younger. I don't know. I was relatively young. It was called Bender Clothing, and it was t-shirt business. Right now, I look at the types of things that I created with it, and I am like, oh my goodness, that is horrendous. It was very much the time that I bought out that business. It was like pretty girls on t-shirts. Like,
that's what everyone was wearing.
That's what was cool at the time, and now I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I did that. But I really enjoyed it because I took all the photos, I got into photography, I did all the graphic design, not knowing what the heck I was doing. But I loved being creative, and it gave me that creative outlet. But also I got to put what I created onto t-shirts, and I with the models who were on the t-shirts, they would get a little cut. But why I got into it, because it gave me a creative outlet, and also I just thought it would be something fun to do. And also, like, the idea of running your own business is fun. I didn't think that it would ever be a full-time gig for me, but being your own boss, that is something that I totally am 100% committed to now. Like, that is my end goal. Entrepreneurship, that financial freedom, that, I don't know, making what I would in my everyday job, being employed, to be able to make that amount of money without actually having to give that amount of time, is something entrepreneurship makes very attractive. So I guess that's why I got into it. Creativity, you get to be your own boss, and financial freedom were the key pillars for me. Did it turn out that way? No. But that was the dream, right? That's what gets you into it. And I think for anyone who's interested in being their own boss and being an entrepreneur, those are probably the same values that they have. Otherwise, why would you do it?
But it sounds like, and I can only say that because another plug, you taking photos and putting them on t-shirts led to Kee-Sue Creative and helped make that do better.
Yeah, for sure. So it helped with my own skill set, because obviously when you start your own business, you've got to be everything, because you can't afford to buy anything or hire anyone. So you've got to do it all in-house at the beginning if you're like, don't have a huge amount of capital to invest. So you just learn to do all the things yourself, and it's fun. And sometimes it's hard, but it's a good challenge, right? And if you're here for it, then it's an amazing way to learn very quickly and create a new career or pathway and skill set for yourself. But yeah, definitely the stuff that I learned from Bender Clothing, which is a failed business, taught me how to be better in business now, like 10 years on. Kee-Sue Creative is quite a successful photography and videography business. Ticks along, earns good revenue. We don't really have to promote it that much. We get business coming to us. It does well. So that's definitely an area for growth. But I learned a lot from my failed business that I brought into that business now,
Yeah, no, nice. It's done well. Like, I know this is lessons learned from failed businesses, but I think the key thing is the biggest lesson we learnt was we put into Kee-Sue Creative, and Kee-Sue Creative is doing very well. But touching on the lessons learnt from failed businesses, listening to you talk, I can think of 2 or 3 key things with El Gusano that, probably the biggest things I learned from having it fail. I hate using the word fail. I was real skeptical at using it first because it doesn't sit quite nice with you. Like, it doesn't resonate with me. It's I failed, and I think people are too scared to admit that I failed. But you listen to all the successful people, whether or not they own their own business or whether they're just successful in their careers, and it's not I did so well because I'm so good. It's I failed a lot and I learned from my failures. And if you can learn from your failures, there's no stopping you. Mm-hmm. I learned three key things I can think off the top of my head. One of them was real petty, but it was just, I think there's a bit of weighting to it. One of them was time factor. So Kee-Sue Creative is a part-time gig for us, but it still ticks over quite nicely. I only need to put in part-time effort and it still ticks around. El Gusano the goal was to have a product in the store that would sell consistently every weekend. People would drink it going out. Music fest, we had all these big plans for it, right? But we didn't have anyone working on it full time. We had 6 people that were work on it on the interim, in between meetings or in between the day-to-day stuff that they're doing. So it really didn't have the best start in life, the business really, in terms of that. Anything new is always going to have its honeymoon stage. So we probably all got a little bit too excited in the first stage. It come out, we created something that tasted really good. It flew off the shelves in the first couple of months because it was new. People were like, oh yeah, I want to try it. We did the tastings and everyone's like, this is amazing, it tastes really good. But then it went quiet because we didn't have a marketing budget. We didn't have enough time to spend putting into marketing because we just weren't fully invested in the time it took to achieve what we wanted that to be at the time. And the other one was just I didn't look hard enough in what the profit margins would be. And it's probably something you don't think of. You just think, I'll own something and then I'll sell it and then I'll make money. And there's always you run yourself on the bare minimum for the first 3 years. You reinvest until you actually start getting some decent revenue, right? But between those three things I mentioned, split between 6 people that are part-time trying to create something that's a full-time product with the revenue we're getting, just the amount of work and effort putting in, there was no way I was going to get out what I needed to out of it.
Not feasible.
No, and I think that the same mindset probably would have gone across the board for some of the other guys as well. The guy who had the original idea, he did go at it full-time for a bit, but I think when he went in it at the full-time part, that was just past that point of, it's been out for so long, we really need to have another flavour to come out to sort of be like a refresh. But yeah, hey look, learned lots. Would I do it again? Yeah, I'm not put off starting my own business or trying to be an entrepreneur or doing those things. I've learnt what it takes. Would I go with 6 people again? Absolutely not.
There's a lot of fingers in the pie.
That's a lot of fingers in the pie. It takes a lot to make a decision. And especially when you're dealing with financial gain, tensions can get quite high.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times where I wanted to, the particular person I wanted to kill, and not murder, but just
strangle,
slap around a couple of times. But yeah, there is such thing as too many chefs in the kitchen. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of people to have running a business, particularly in the early stages, because entrepreneurial startups, you've got to think fast, you've got to move quickly, you've got to make agile decisions, and you've got to be the best, you've got to be smarter, and 6 people is a little weight to be carrying.
Yeah, especially and trying to coordinate 6 people. That was the hardest part, I reckon, trying to coordinate 6 people split all over the country on different day-to-day life schedules was, it was set up for failure.
But then at the beginning, I guess with 6 people, that's a lot more capital or like money you can raise together to kick it off properly.
Yeah.
Because what you started was like a real world tangible product that's stocked in, liquor stores. You need a decent amount of capital to be able to create that first run, right? It's not like with Bender Clothing, I could buy a few t-shirts at a time. It didn't cost me $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to do that. So I guess it's like also that kind of spread a little bit of the risk, didn't it? It did.
But hey, look, like I say, this is lessons learned. I definitely learned a lot, and it hasn't put me off. Like I've taken some of those lessons into Kee-Sue Creative. I've actually taken a lot of those lessons into my day-to-day job, although my day-to-day isn't my own business, but it's something, the lessons I've learned, I've taken in and applied.
You treat it like it is, right? You make those decisions as if it is your own baby.
Yes, and I think the biggest key takeaway for me is it hasn't put me off, and I'm still looking for what's next. I've got a million ideas in my head. It's just finding the time. I just know I need, what have I got enough time for? Have I got enough to do it myself? I don't need to bring people in, and what's the market like? So that's what I learned. What about you? Let's talk about Bender. What are the lessons you learned from Bender?
I think from that, I definitely learned that you go into starting your own business with rose-tinted glasses and feel like I think for me the biggest thing was learning marketing and sales. At that point, I was at university studying English literature. What was I going to do with it? Fuck knows. I wanted to be a journalist.
Help your husband spell.
Yeah, I didn't know you at that time. I was too young. But that taught me that actually if you build a product, if you build it, they won't come unless you tell them about it and give them a good bloody reason to purchase. So Bender Clothing taught me that marketing and sales is number one. You need to have a great product or service, but you need to know how to market it and to sell it. And that's what got me interested in marketing. And since then I've been doing marketing for 10 years or so. It's bloody hard, learning new things all the time, but it taught me the importance of marketing and sales for any business. That's how you grow. That's how you grow as a business, is through marketing and sales. So if you are at home and you want to start your own business, do you have a marketing and sales plan? Do you know how your place in the market, how it's going to fulfill a need, why people are going to choose your product over other people's, and what the lay of the land is there? How competitive is it? For example, you're up against pals. Well, at the beginning you weren't. They bought out that product after you bought it out.
They did.
But Powell's is huge, right? And they dominate that RTD market. And so after you bought out Algasano, they bought out their own version, which is a bit crap. But you're up with some big players. So how do you differentiate yourself in the market and get people to choose you over them when they have big budgets and lots of money to burn and they've got their brand recognition? And so I think with Bender Clothing, it really taught me the power of branding, the power of marketing, and the importance of sales. And that still is not easy, and I'm still working it out. But yeah, I think that really got me on that pathway to how important that branding piece is.
So there's no real metric for marketing, SEO, or anything, right? It's all trial and error. Because
there's definitely metrics behind the scenes.
But it's all adapting. This is my opinion. It's all adapting. The Tactics come out now, and people use that.
The Tactics.
The Tactics. That's come out, and that's marketing 101 for easy. People live on that. I can't walk down the street and see someone not staring at their phone going up, up, up.
But getting your brand out there, that's not easy.
No.
In a way that people care about. Otherwise, if you're just literally advertising without connecting, no one cares.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And probably something else just with the Algasano. You mentioned, Powers came with a bigger marketing budget and stuff. I didn't actually realise that in liquor stores you buy real estate. That was
just like in supermarkets.
I know. Well, that's right. All the good stuff's right in all the expensive, high quality stuff's right in your eyes. If you go to the bottom shelf, it's the home brand stuff that's 30 cents and exactly the same stuff, just got a cheaper packet on it.
Yeah, so that sort of thing you wouldn't have known until you actually started doing it, and then you realise, oh, actually, I'm at a disadvantage here.
The moment they came out with theirs and the other brands came out with their versions of what we created, multiple flavours, again, touching on what you said, they've got the budget to back it, so they could produce multiple things, whereas we only had enough budget to do one. We got pushed to the back into no man's land, and when you're only selling 1 or 2 boxes per store, as opposed to selling pallets, then you split between 6 people, it's just really not worth it. But again, those are big key points to learn. Would I do a drink again? I'd look into it, and what I would do is, if I had to redo, you always look at, would you get a redo? I would not probably go nationwide like we did. We tried to go too big too fast. I would look at dominating a particular area like Auckland or Wellington, probably Auckland because it's probably more populated in terms of traffic in and out, and just really get the resales going, just really get it humming in Auckland, just taster after taster after taster, so they keep rebuying, and then
dominate a particular area and then before you move out,
and then let the word spread out, and then when you go out, you create another flavour because this one's already humming, so you've got a chance to risk it as you come out. So, there's lots. I could go on.
That's also very granular as well. I guess when it comes to the top level stuff, it's marketing, sales, rose tinted glasses. You always expect people to buy whatever you're dishing up, even though there's no real reason for it. You've got a cool idea, but have you investigated what the demand is in the market, if people even care? But also the profit margin, service versus product. For me, for example, I did product with Bender, I then did service. I opened a business, Content Queen, which was digital marketing or SEO and digital content marketing, service-based. Service-based was a lot more profitable for me because I didn't have to hold on to product. Same with Kee-Sue Creative. We've obviously invested in our camera gear, but we slowly invested and upgraded over time. I can't believe the camera that I used for the first 10 years. Now I've got the most amazing camera and I don't know how I live without it, but the profit margin is basically all profit, to be honest, apart from the gear that we use.
Yeah, I'm the same. With when I started the filming side of things, the camera I got now, when I started with, I was like, this is amazing. I went and bought the new one when I finally upgraded and reinvested, and I was like, what the hell was I doing?
Yeah, you're like, how could I live without
this? Looks like I've taken a video through one of those old Polaroid click, click, click photo things you used to leave in there.
And a new iPhone would record better footage than that, right?
Oh, 100%.
But it's also, though, product versus service. Service-based is very hard to scale because it's time for money, whereas product-based is a lot easier to scale, but you have to invest a lot more capital to get started, so it's a bit more high risk in the initial startup phase. but a lot more scalable. You can grow it a lot bigger, a lot faster. Service-based, a lot less risk going in because it's time for money a lot of the time, but also very hard to scale because you've only got limited time in the day, right?
Yeah.
So they've got their pros and cons. But at the moment, for me, service-based, I'm really enjoying. But then I understand the limitations that come with that. You've got to think outside the box to be able to scale a business like that.
Service-based is something that you're always going to have to put time and effort into. You know, you're going to have to be involved in some way or another, whereas product-based, you could eventually get it to a point where it ticks along. But
yes, but as long as you nail your sales and marketing.
Products.
If no one's going to buy it, then you're just stuck with a shit ton of product that you can't get rid of.
I know. Product's really good if you've got the time to invest in it. You know, if you're like, cool, this is what it's going to need, this is the market, this is what it's going to take to get people to buy it. This is how much time I have to put in. But yeah, service you can do in your ad hoc. You know, you get one or two, you work out what you want in terms of your profit side of things, and you just tick off that. And that's what we've sort of done with Kee-Sue Creative. But those are my big things I've learned. Can't really remember what I said. I'll try to recap. Time. Careful how many people you go into. Look at what your profit's going to be compared to what you've got to put back out and pay. So people, bills, and all that. And just really more investigating. I think don't be blindsided by this amazing, stargazing idea.
Get rich quick scheme, because it's never like that. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and it's always too good to be true.
Yeah.
I think for me, rose tinted glasses, like, it's always going to seem way more profitable and way more amazing than it really is. So understand what you're getting yourself into, and that what happens if it fails. Marketing and sales, you really need to understand how you're going to sell it and how you're going to market it, because that is key to actually growth. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's nothing quite like it. Like, it's so much fun. It's so frustrating. It's so challenging. It's the most hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I think that's why I like it and why I want to continue to pursue it, because I don't feel like I've quite nailed it yet. But I don't feel like I ever will. Like, it's with entrepreneurship, there's never going to be any time where I'm like, oh no, I've nailed it. I think no matter who's in entrepreneurship or what business you have, you're always going to want to take it to the next level, right? It's just this project or projects, if you're running multiple businesses, that always could do with being better and bigger. And it's like all the well-established businesses you see these days, they started out in this process, right? They started out with an idea, someone who was an entrepreneur who like believed in it and wanted to give it a go. So they just went out there and fucking did it. And I think that's the coolest thing of all these well-established businesses now. Someone started that. Someone had the guts and the balls to actually be like, I've got a cool idea and I'm going to go for it. It may fail, it may succeed, but I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Yes,
they started in the garage somewhere on some dinky street, you know, probably working till late hours in the morning.
The amount of hours you have to put in because you're still working your 9 to 5 or whatever to bring in the income. Like, that's not a small thing, and a lot of people don't have the ability to do that because they don't have the motivation or the drive,
or they're not willing to, and I just come to my head now, they're not willing to sacrifice things that they've currently got. You know, they're not looking at the long-term gain. They're thinking, what have I got to get rid of short-term that I really like doing? Whereas if you sacrifice it if you're that passionate about doing it, a small sacrifice of a couple of things that you do enjoy doing for a short period of time, in the end game, you could have something really amazing that you could do, or free your time up to actually do that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like a lot of the time we see the success at the end. We don't see all the hard work, the failures, all the frustrations that led to that. So I think a lot of the time that's where the rose-tinted glasses comes from in business. I start this, everyone's going to buy it, it's going to be a success overnight, because you see other businesses looking that way, but really the road for them to get there was probably very, very shaky.
Yes.
And lots of twists and turns. But the thing is, the difference between the people who fail and the people who succeed, sorry, but I'm going to call us out here, you didn't have to fail. You wouldn't have failed if you kept going. There's always a way. There's always an opportunity to keep going. But you've got to fully believe in your product, believe in your business, believe that it will succeed. Because if you don't have that belief, then that's not going to drive you to succeed and to keep going when things
get tough.
So if that passion and that drive and that love is not there, it's not going to succeed. But if it is, do whatever it takes to make it happen, because it will.
Yeah. Lots of people talk themselves out of things before they even get going, and you're right. I mean, if your boss called you in, if you were employed by someone, called you in and said you need to tighten your act up in the next couple of days or you're going to get fired, you would tighten your act up in the next couple of days. It's the same thing as owning your own business. It's just you don't have someone to tell you what to do.
No.
You just need to know that you need to tighten things up. You need to know that you've got to put in the time, the effort and drive. So, no, I mean, like I said, it hasn't put me off. Failing hasn't put me off. It's taught me a hell of a lot of things that I've taken into my day-to-day, and probably a lot of those things are part of the reason why I've gotten up the tools and progressed so far through my career, places I've been thought I'd never even be. And that's all from lessons learned from trying things and giving things a go. And I haven't been put off. I will definitely, if I've got a good idea that I'm passionate about, again, there needs to be some passion in it. If there's no passion, there's no commitment. If there's no commitment, it's just going to fail.
Yeah.
If I find something else I'm passionate about, I think I can market, and I think I can do all the marketing side good,
You can sell it.
I'd look at pursuing it.
Nice. Yeah, I totally agree. You've got to love it. I think that's a key takeaway, lessons learned from failed businesses. The ones that failed for me personally, I've had two. I lost my passion. I lost my fizzle for them. So find something that you love doing, and then you'll be driven to actually do whatever it takes to make it succeed.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
That's a nice one. I think we'll leave it there.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for listening to our lessons learned from failed businesses. We use the word failure pretty loosely, like they did fail, but at the same time, I think they're just the biggest learning opportunities that we've had. Yeah. Hence the term lessons.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. Let's end it there.
I was going to say, if you didn't do that stuff at the beginning, we'd had a nice clean run the whole way through.
What stuff at the beginning?
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah. Yeah, no, you're right. So I got it out of my system early on.
Maybe we should do that in the pre-recording that I can delete it at the front. Anyway, that was Terrible Life Advice. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
Bye.